Hello.
Yo
Hello.
ho ho.
Uh,
Chewie.
we're back in hopefully high definition, or at least higher definition than we were last week, because that was bad.
High definition.
Yes. Yeah, in traditional format for Tourney Ground, as has been the case for the last week. We'll catch you next week. No. We are going to last longer than what was that? 2 minutes, most of which was loading.
A couple of times.
Carlo, it's been 2 weeks since we last spoke. Well, how you been doing? How you been doing?
My boiler's leaking. It sits in a cupboard just off here. It sits in a cupboard just here, which is normally full of a Song of Ice and Fire stuff. So now it's like all behind me in a massive pile. And it's one of those things I always end up having to get them out the cupboard, and then I'm actually embarrassed at myself by how many unopened boxes there are. So yeah. So that's what's happening. Boiler's leaking. My boxes are everywhere around the room, and obviously I won't actually get any of them out, paint them, or do anything with them
Oh
because
God, no.
that's crazy times. That's crazy talk.
I mean,
They'll just eventually go back into the cupboard again, and we'll wait. I'll forget that I even own them.
everybody who is even remotely into miniatures knows that the hobby is all about collecting stuff, not actually doing anything with
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
We're all glorified hoarders. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a week. It's been 2 weeks even, and I would say a lot has happened, and that's kind of the thing. A lot has happened, and it's been a lot of nothing. And it's been a very strange 2 weeks, to be honest. But we'll go into more detail that when we talk about the news and all the various different things going on. The obvious thing to cover, in case you weren't aware, and it's not a surprise anymore, there hasn't been another Visions. The hype from Lucas never arrived. And nod. Yeah, we're all drug addicts who like plastic. Yeah, plastic addicts. Very.
Plastic crack.
I've started branching out into resin and metal, and it doesn't fulfill the same needs. You still have to buy the plastic as well. You just buy both. Um. So, yeah, it's been a whole lot of nothing. Which in itself is it
To
has
be
its own
expected.
problems. It is to be expected. It is to be
It's
expected.
to be expected. Anybody who thought, like, I hate saying "I told you so" because "I told you so" is always a negative thing because I nearly always take the most negative line, the most negative opinion. I try and warn people of what I think is going to happen, and even sometimes over exaggerate how bad I think things are going to be. And then when it comes true, all I can say is that's shit for everybody. And some people were very, very into this idea that we were going to get a War Council update. I never for one moment believed it myself. And all I can say is it didn't come, did it?
It didn't.
That's
It didn't.
that was a pipe dream.
You know what? You know what it is a pipe. It was a pipe dream, and it still probably kind of is. But we've got to stay positive, right? And this is kind of like where this kind of message of this episode's going. But it's a bit more deeper than that for different reasons. But yeah. So yeah, we'll see with the War Council app. I mean, at this point, it comes when it comes. Let's pretty brutally honest. We could be looking to see action packs this month.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
see, there's movement physically, right? There's physical movement.
Yeah, there is.
Greyjoy's starters have been out in the UK for what, 2.5 weeks now?
Yeah, about that.
Something like that. I've not seen anything else in the UK, but across Europe there seems to be, I've seen a few different things, a few different people posting that they've got heroes, that they've got Ironborn, and not Ironborn,
Iron Makers.
Iron Makers, there we
Yeah.
go. Iron Makers and Trappers. That those 3 boxes that are coming out, they seem to be like just getting out into the wild. I don't know if that's slightly dodgy imports from from further east, or if they're more legitimate releases, like the the main faction boxes have been in the UK. That's a fully legit release.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, a lot of chatter about the fact that Greyjoys really might turn up in the US like this week, I think. Maybe
Well,
people
people have been getting them in the US. People have been getting them. Like they've been delivered. They are arriving to people's doors. People have them in the houses in the US. Not everybody, not every location in, I say US, but NA has got them. But they are out. It's not massively unreasonable that you can order some and they'll be arriving this week.
that definitely feels like we're on the clock
Yeah.
for the physical release of the packs. I think everybody was really, really hoping that the War Council would just come first and predate it by like a full month or something like that. But it's not
Not here.
like we just have to hope that the packs come soon, because that's actually what most people are after. Most people are desperate to get hold of the War Council update, because they don't necessarily believe that they're going to get faction packs that soon physically into their own hands.
Yeah.
And War Council is just like bang, everybody has it in the whole world, everybody has it at the same place. There'll probably be some absolute fallout over Android versus iOS, which one goes up first. But
Yeah.
like within a period of a day or something, everybody in the world will have access to it, hopefully, right? But physical faction packs might be a different story. So people are desperate for the War Council to come out, but really they want faction packs to be released. And Greyjoy's turning up everywhere says we're a step closer. On their own timescales, Greyjoys would come out 1 to 2 months before faction packs.
Mm-hmm.
1 to 2, okay.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. A shout out to Sam in the chat. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I mean, it's weird. It's wonderful and weird, really, that we've got all the kind of like the physical release, which is the one thing during COVID that I think a lot of us understood. We understood that that was a problem, and then November, December time last year, we were kind of like, yeah, the problem's still there, but actually, your distribution network should have solved that by now. Like that's something. Yes, the repercussions are still there, but you should have worked something out, or at least the distribution chain should have worked something out, because otherwise they've been failing for 9 months, and the company can't exist if it's failed for 9 months. Simple as that. But clearly
They've
we
been
were wrong.
succeeding at other stuff.
But yeah, they're succeeding.
Marvel United. Marvel United is a way big hit. Everybody
Yeah.
loves it. I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't like the chibi miniature thing. I've never understood. I got is it Loot Box? Yeah, Loot Box way back in the when Loot Box first started. I signed up to Loot Box, and one of the things I got was like a Pop Funko, the Pop Funko head thing. And I looked at it.
Head
Yeah.
wobbly head.
I got out of the box and was like, I hate this. I do not want this.
Cancel your subscription.
No word of a lie. I think I got a second box and got another one or something similar, and I was like, nah, this is rubbish. Not my thing. Not my thing. But yeah. So the plastic is getting out. The things are getting to people. And yes, the Greyjoys are going to be the 2021 version. Rusty, in case. Great name, by the way, Rusty Glass. Bring you back to Salad Fingers days. That's a great name. Love it. But no. Greyjoys are 2021, so they are current version, if you will. Which brings us on to a point that Carlo was going to talk about, and links to all of the kind of news that we're going to link to. So we'll move on to the news rather than talking about the visions that obviously weren't there. And the news is, well, it is all that kind of like distribution stuff, and it's more than just that. It's updates, it's changes, it's things happening on all fronts. And there's lots of little things that I've tried to collate for you all today that have been going on, some big, some small, and just little things. So obviously the first thing we've touched on obviously is that the update didn't come, the Lucas update. So
the Lucas
yeah, the Lucas update. Your parents are hilarious. Oh my, incredible, Rusty. That's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Love it. So The Lucas update didn't come out. What does this mean? Well, obviously it means that 2021 still isn't here. Well, not a surprise to anybody.
For those who don't know, just
Yeah.
in case, like, like some people watch this and don't know. For those who don't know, it all started with somebody I forget who now. So
Theo.
there we go,
Theo.
Theo. Yeah, Theo went out there and just did this crazy thing and asked customer support on the War Council app, "Hey, when are you gonna update the app?"
Crazy.
Lucas replied, right, and he said, "In about 2 weeks, we'll have an update." This was very distinctly related to, Theo literally said, "Players are leaving the game in my local community because they don't want to play 1.6. When are we going to get the 2021 update?" Lucas said, "You should have an update in about 2 or 3 weeks." The problem is 2 weeks later, he came back with an email saying he didn't say a miscommunication, but he basically worded it as, "There is an update coming, but it's only a bug fix. It's not the update." He
Yeah.
didn't say, like, he sort of didn't really infer any blame. Tiny sort of said, "I misunderstood," was kind of like reading between the lines. It basically, Lucas said, "I misunderstood. That wasn't the update." But then it very clearly ended with, "We're not allowed to discuss dates with you anymore." And
Yes.
that seemed like really like boom. Customer support are not allowed to discuss dates with you anymore based off of the fact that people went out and discussed this as a thing, and it got out there that people got excited that they thought that this meant that the update was coming.
Yep. Which that whole thing comes back to distribution, which I know Simon are in with Asmodee, and the whole discussion with Simon and Asmodee and that whole thing is just like not okay, not great. So I won't go down that route of the kind of issues there. But it does bring us to an important point, which was we spoke about Lucas's original post here on Tourney Ground, and it was a breath of fresh air, I should say. It was nice how awesome it was to get someone saying something. And everyone got really excited, not because the update was coming, actually. And Nod Nerb touches on it in chat there. It wasn't because we thought the update was coming, but it's because we thought they were listening. We thought that they were talking. And
To each other.
yeah, well, even just to each other.
Two departments might have spoken to each other.
Yeah, I know, right?
That War Council customer support might have spoken to the dev team once ever in their lives.
But it showed promise. I think it actually instilled this element of faith in the community, actually, because people went, "Oh, brilliant, something." And that's actually the big thing that we see at the moment, and it links into what we've seen on the main Facebook group today, which was a discussion about positivity and negativity, and the rising increase of negative Facebook posts. Predominantly Facebook is where the posts are. And me and Carlo have talked about this privately outside of Tourney Ground times, where we've just said, like, there are so many negative comments now.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, like, we're not.
I feel like it's the overwhelming, like,
Yeah.
I think that it's tipped to a majority negative.
Yeah.
And that's a really bad state for us to be in. Or I think it's actually what makes me think that it's really, really bad state of play is, I mean, this is going to sound odd because I often like discuss negativity on this channel, but I personally would never go to Facebook to say something to make a negative post. If I'm of the if I don't care about it, if I'm negative about something, then I'm not gonna go on Facebook. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna ignore it, right? So I'm of the belief that the majority of people who feel negative about it actually will disconnect from it and move away. And actually, you have to have an overwhelming majority of people having a negative feeling for you to have half of your posts now be negative. Half of like the comments and discussions, and honestly, they just boil down into arguments. They're just straight up arguments at this point.
There are.
Um, being of negative stint. shows that like there's just so much disharmony in the community. People care about it. Like for you to make a negative post, you have to care so much to want to say something. Do you know what I mean? Like with maybe like desperation involved of like thinking it will help or and things like that. Yeah, Weasel. It's funny because like Weasel, like it is believed that like negativity is my brand, but like like if you want to come here and listen to me say things that I think are wrong with the game, then that's one thing. But I'm not gonna go out there on Facebook and tell you why everything's shit. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like in my opinion, that doesn't help anybody. Like that doesn't help anybody. If
Right.
you want to come listen to things that I think can be improved, and I always try and build my negativity around the fact that I think this is a problem and this and I think that this could and should be solved. Whereas now it's just like it's just venting. People are just venting continuously. And yeah, it's I think it shows that way over half the community are not happy. In my opinion, I that's what I believe.
Yeah.
But for the amount of negativity versus positivity on the Facebook group to be in the balance that it currently is in, we have to have the vast majority of people to be unhappy.
I will go as far as saying that the negativity tends to outweigh the positivity from a smaller percentage than we think, mainly because when people are negative, bad news travels fast, right? People gravitate towards the negative stuff to either argue or agree. The positive stuff, actually, most people will just skim over it and go on to the next thing, right? Positivity is not interesting, and it sounds really weird because it is. Actually, some of the most positive stuff is the most interesting, but a lot of people don't get involved with it. Um, and that's what's led us onto this weird situation. And a lot of people have said, "Oh, I've stopped going on Facebook. I've stopped reading the posts because they're negative, and I've stopped engaging with the community because it's negative." To which point I say to them, "Well, then, is that because of the community's negative, or because you're choosing to engage with the negative parts?" Um, and
I mean,
that's
that's the other thing about Facebook, right? I don't actually see that much negativity on my Facebook feed because I ignore it. There's an amount of just like you just glazing over it and ignoring it. It's so common to me now that I'm just like, oh, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like another negative post, brilliant, great. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant, you caught up. I've been telling you things are bad for the past 6 months. But this is the real thing about Facebook. If you're seeing nothing but a barrage of negative stuff on your Facebook group, it's because you engage with the posts. That's simply literally how Facebook works. When you engage with a post by a certain person, Facebook thinks, oh, they want to see more posts by that person. So when you sit down and respond and say, no, 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 everything's fine, the next time that same person posts something and says, this is crap, it shows it to you because it thinks that you're going to want to see it and it thinks that you're going to want to comment on it. If you genuinely just ignore it, Facebook doesn't show it to you. That's how Facebook works, guys.
yeah. And so it's a weird kind of like conundrum where you interact with the negative things to kind of shout. It's the same problem that the leaks had, right? Is you interact with the posts about the leaks, and all that does is actually promote the leaks more. You
Yeah.
On social media and things like this, the more you talk about something, be it even fighting against it, the more you fight something, the bigger it spreads and the bigger it becomes.
The
Um,
more you post on a leak and say, "Oh, we shouldn't be talking about the leaks," the more you spread the leak.
exactly.
Right, like,
It's the
it's amazing. It's amazing coding. It's an amazing algorithm. Facebook got us by the balls. They know they know how to make us keep coming back for more.
they do.
Yes, keep coming back. It's all the things
Um,
I hate, but I'll keep coming to see them.
yeah. And that's, I mean, so that's, that's the kind of like side of it there. And then we talk about the actual kind of like what people are negative about. And like Carlo touched on, people being negative just because they can about stuff that, to be honest, is like, it's not about that it's not affecting the game, but it's just not important. Um, the
All the boys are.
all the boys are in the chat today. Um, the classic thing for me is that there'll be people complaining like, oh, this thing that we saw that's like was released ages ago is super unbalanced, and you're like, well, you've looked like you've played like 6 or 7 games, and you look like you've played it against other stuff that's probably not very well tested or not in a very good environment to actually test these things. You're not getting like me and Carlo will talk about this all day. You're not getting actual reliable data. We can tell you things that we think aren't good, and that's fine. Opinions are not an issue. Never a problem with people's opinions. But you can't sit around and say this is OP because you're like, well, how on earth are you supposed to know that? Um, you
Yeah.
haven't got the data. You haven't got empirical reasoning behind what you're saying. You're just saying things because you. Also, Max, I appreciate that. If anyone's wondering why Max is saying I look handsome, it's because I used to live with Max. He's a lovely guy. Check him out on Instagram. Anyway, so
For
no,
me, the worst part about the negativity, right?
yeah,
This is the real crux of it. Greyjoys are coming out. They're out. They're out in the
they're out. They're
UK.
here.
They're out in Europe. They're out in the US. This right here, right now, is what, like 3 months later than we thought it would be, which isn't the worst. That's not the worst delivery time for Simon. I mean, it's 6 months later than it should have been. They're originally slated for Q4 2020,
Yeah.
but like realistically, people believed that they were going to come at the very end of Q1,
Yep.
and they're coming at the end of Q2. That's not the worst kind of delay. We always were told and believed and knew that Greyjoys would come out, and then sometime after, shortly, supposedly, after a very small amount of time, 2021 balance would come along.
Yep.
This was the plan, right? Things are going to plan. That's what's crazy. Yeah,
Yep.
this is actually to Simon's plan. But the problem is that Greyjoys should have been one of the biggest hype trains, biggest releases, biggest positivity things for this game, at least in the past year, if not the past year and a half.
Yep.
I've not known a single faction to be as highly anticipated as Greyjoys since Baratheons. Like, people are Baratheon diehards and people are Greyjoy diehards. People have been waiting for Greyjoys since day one of this game, since the Kickstarter was announced.
Yeah.
People love Greyjoys. Greyjoys are
Absolutely.
out. People aren't talking about the fact that Greyjoys are out. People are talking about the fact that the other 7 factions aren't out. And for me, that's because there's nothing for the Greyjoys to play against. Greyjoys are a 2021 faction, and there aren't any other 2021 factions. Unless you're going to play some cobbled together leaked game. I get one commander, I get one thing from the visions. Do I use the visions because they're not quite the same as the leaks? Do I like it? It's in a terrible state to play, and that is what they plan to do. Like, they always plan to do that, and I think that's the real telling thing. And we should be in one of the most hype periods for the past year and a half. And instead, the community is like at each other's throats, telling each other, like, I'm not happy. And then somebody else saying, well, if you're not happy, basically fuck off. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's
That is
pretty
it.
much what like the shut up or be positive attitude really says, right? It says, if you're not happy, then fuck off and be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's just as dismissive.
yeah, exactly. And it's almost like it's almost like denial of the fact that somebody else could be unhappy, right? It makes
Mhm.
them think like, okay, well, if I'm the only one who feels like this, then I'll leave.
Yeah.
Whereas if the whole community actually feels that way, then there's at least some community ethos to like, oh well, at least we're in it together.
Yeah.
But I don't,
It's
I just can't. I cannot understand how these two things weren't supposed to line up. Like, how 2021 balance wasn't supposed to be out at the same time as Greyjoys. That they weren't supposed to 100% always be a simultaneous release.
even, you know
More,
what?
more,
Even if it was
more
a couple of
to the
weeks,
case.
even if it was a couple of weeks, that wouldn't have been the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, a couple of weeks is doable, and it's looking like it could well be overall a couple of weeks. But that's because we had a bad distribution problem in with the NA section. So NA are
Yeah,
not getting theirs until this week, and that's because faction packs are not going to potentially not going to have that same problem and could be out early in the other places in the world. So if you actually count world releases, you've actually got the faction packs in some places early, and Greyjoys essentially everywhere. So the distance between the two will be very small. But the
Yeah.
problem is we've known Greyjoys to be out since the app update, which was over a month ago.
Yeah.
So Greyjoys have been out for a month, and okay, the models haven't, the tactics cards haven't, but people, we saw the likes of community members like what's his face? Oh, he's always posting on Facebook. Oh, I can't remember his name. It's going to annoy me. But people were testing. People were testing the Greyjoys out. They were just putting proxy models in because ultimately it doesn't matter what you play with, right? Just play the game. Play the
Yeah.
game and play whatever version of the game you want to play, but just play it. And Jan, there we go. And Jan was, playing Greyjoys with printed cards and some stuff here to test things out because he wanted to, and that's what the game is about. The problem in a lot of people's eyes, and I think this is where my grievances really start, is from a marketing perspective as well. This is completely a marketing thing. The Visions in the Flames, although were interesting to start with, have backfired to a
So
huge degree.
such a problem.
Um,
So when you create a conversation and then you leave a vacuum, you lose control of the conversation, and that's what we've
yes,
seen. Like the conversation is now just continuously about the fact that the
that there's a
direction has
vacuum.
gone,
Yeah, yeah,
and now it just spirals into like, well, they gave up on Dark Age and they gave up on Kings of War. Do you know what I mean? They might do that to our game. Do you know what I mean? Like they might drop us and like people's semi legitimate fears, real fears. Like and yeah, people. Charles Cassier, Urson saying, yeah, what happened? What happened to the day one release FAQ as well, where they said that
yeah,
they were gonna do this alongside Greyjoys and um, for
yeah.
Ola, as far as we know, UK has had Greyjoys. I
hmm
don't know where everybody else is getting them. Other people have been getting stuff. The only thing that I know 100% that is definitely released is the Greyjoy starter in the UK.
Yeah.
I don't believe it'd be anywhere else. I mean, it won't be not in English, so it'll be people importing it from other places if you have it more locally.
If you hang on, I will show you some locations where you can actually just go straight up buy this stuff and is selling it with apparently worldwide connections. I'm going to take you through a load of different stores in relation to the distribution problems. Doing a lot of research and trying to get in contact with different places and seeing where all this stuff is kind of like building from because it is quite important, I believe. So there will be more on that in a couple of minutes. I just wanted to mention that then. So that was the end of March. We saw the last update. It's now been over a month. And before that, obviously, we're used to seeing all of the. And you know what? Communication, when they were doing 2 articles a week, we said at the time, it's too good. Too good to be true. They won't keep it up. And look who's saying things now. But if we look back further than that, if we go before the Visions, we had the November releases and what kind of light was mentioned in November. And things were actually okay in November.
Yeah.
You know, but it was the once a month communication that we got before that really that was the problem, and it wasn't enough to just say look something's coming out, especially when it was the articles were being put out on the day the things were released. And to compare, I checked out Games Workshop. Now I know we shouldn't compare with Games Workshop. We really shouldn't compare the behemoth that is
They're
Games
evil.
Workshop and Simon because it's just unfair. WarhammerCommunity.com has at least an article put out every single day. Every single day. Sometimes 3, 4, 5 articles a day. And I'm not talking articles about the Warhammer Fest that's basically just finished over the weekend. I'm talking pre-Warhammer Fest. People literally post that much articles a day. A day. Now,
I mean, they are at least an order of magnitude
oh,
bigger.
100%. Asking for one a week. You know what? That might even be a push for Simon. Asking for one every 2 weeks? That's reasonable. Speaking as someone who puts together this stuff and has put it together either for stats or put it together for companies, you could do it 2 hours a week. you could commit that time. The photo editing doesn't take that long. Image editing doesn't take that long, especially if you're not experienced. We have our own man in chat today, Shun Shun, Scott from Northern Realms. He can throw together some pretty nice visual art in a matter of minutes. And this is what his job is, a professional, basically graphic designer. So, it just seems like bad etiquette from our perspective, and that's got nothing to do with Michael and Fabio. You know what I mean? That's nothing to do with the game, really, and it's down to the management of the game at Simon's level, which is the point where I would complain so much about. Balance is one thing, and balance is something actually that can be fixed, but marketing strategies just being bad is, that sucks.
Sad time.
So anyway, that's the negative side of it. The good news of it, things are coming. Things are coming out. I want to touch on a couple of things, and a couple of things that are positive and not so negative. So, some of you are French, and you will know of the French Facebook groups. So, over in the French Facebook group, we had an update. I won't lie to you. This is obviously a French translation to English. These are release dates that they have from Asmodee France. Right? 4 boxes. VO stands for version original version, English version. VF stands for French version. Okay? So we see on here May 21st, 11 days from this announcement. 4 days from this announcement, we see Iron Makers, Ironborn Trappers, and Heroes Greyjoy 1. Okay, that's a bad translation. Greyjoy Heroes 1. And 11 days from now, we see the 7 faction packs. We also see She-Bears and King's Men, apparently, in 11 days.
Press X to doubt.
Press X to doubt, right? I want to say, hype. 11 days, and we're getting like a new unit we know nothing about, and King's Men finally hitting the shelves, and we're getting the 2021 update. It's going to be incredible. 11 days, that's the warning sign, guys. I don't believe it, but let's see it. It's something to look at and say, you know what? 11 days, let's go for that. It's a next milestone. We can work on this. Right? We then see 28th. Hedge Knights, Queen's Men, R'hllor, Lightbringers, and Freedmen. There is a potential for 4 more units coming out this month. This would actually make May to be a total release of what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes. 3 of which are Baratheon, by the way. So if you're a Baratheon fan, get your 3 boxes there. 9 releases this month alone. I mean, definitely press X to doubt. Definitely hit that button. But the point is, for those of you who are worrying in chat, for those of you who are kind of like, oh my god, things are never getting released, there's something, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, the chat knows. The chat knows, right? Like, it's the boy who cried wolf, right?
Yeah.
Every single time we hear it and we get excited, every time we're like, it might happen this time. You're like, oh, no, I don't care. Don't worry. I'm not worried about Greyjoys. I'm not interested in Greyjoys. No, I don't care. And then I'm like, Hedge Knights. Oh, my God. Please let it be real. Those Hedge Knights are so good. And then you're just like, no, you just get kicked in the balls again.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. No, it's too much, too fast. Somebody'd have some boxes. The day I start believing something's going to come out at some point soon, is the day that somebody posts it on Facebook that they've managed to like get it in Asia.
Yeah.
That's when I think, oh, this might actually come out this month.
So apparently,
honestly, that's when I believe.
So Charles Cassier just saying there's news from 20 minutes ago from the same person that Trapper and Iron Makers is delayed by 14 days. Sadness. I won't go down that route. That's just sad. So there you go. That is literally news. Quite literally news. What's interesting actually, where this starts to get. I mean, a lot of this later on is like version French stuff, which I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't care about the French version stuff, because I'm not French. Right, that's the truth. Also, the hilarious French. Can I just point out the hilarious Google French translation? Knights of the Deer and Deer Champions.
Yeah. They've got them. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I just Tornado Crows Dervishes. That's the most amazing name for something ever. The Tornado Crows. I'm definitely calling Tornado Crows from now on. So anyway, the thing actually that's most important here, Clegane Brigands. That's not a name I've heard of.
That's surely gonna very much to be expected to pair up with our Clegane Butcher, right? Surely,
Yeah, surely.
surely.
Yeah, 100%. Makes sense. Clegane Cavalry has been requested since the release of the Mountain. Reread as Clegane Cavalry has been requested since the game started. So, Clegane Brigands, they are there. They are a thing that Asmodee France have admitted will be coming. So, there you go.
This will show you how much I haven't even read them, even though Lance is on my main faction. They're not in the leaks, right? Just checking.
No, as far
No,
as I'm aware, they are not in the leaks.
that's
I'd have to double
totally
check.
new info.
Yeah, literally completely new info. So there we go. There's news that you might not have caught up on there. See, I do try and find this stuff, guys. I do
News to
try and
me.
find all these
Yeah.
random things, and try and collate all these random stuff together. So yeah, there you go. So that's interesting because I mean, again, it's something, right? It's something, and this is from Songoficefire.fr. They are the main distributors to France, from I believe, and they do talk with Asmodee FR. Right? They're not just some random group. They are an established group that do talk with Asmodee a lot. In fact, I believe it was some of these guys combined with some of the others that actually contributed to the team rules, the team rules that came out last year. Some of the people involved with this who are contributing there. So, moving on though, that's one thing. We've got loads of new stuff that's potentially coming out but might not be. Then we have a kind of like complete opposite of
What's
that.
new?
Right, you ready for this? You can buy Iron Makers, Ironborn Trappers, and Greyjoy Heroes right now and get them delivered within 3 days.
I think I've seen the site that you're talking about. Maybe.
Anytime War Games, based in Russia.
Yeah. Based in Russia.
Let's
Seems
go
to be
just
selling only Greyjoys.
let's go buy some Greyjoys.
I saw this just today. I forget what Discord I picked it up from. But yeah.
I mean,
One
fair
stop
enough.
shop.
Yeah. They do actually
Talk
have
about
they do have loads of stuff. They've got full Song of Ice and Fire collections, but actually if you look, most of the stuff that they sell, unless it's like relatively new, is sold out. They look like they act as a bit of a go-between. They don't have much rolling stock. Right? But the point is, they literally have that stuff for sale, and people have bought it, and it has arrived.
in the US, right?
Yeah.
Like I've heard
People in the US have
saying
bought from
that,
this shop.
Yeah. I think this is maybe where everybody's got it from. I don't know. But I think the people who have it in Europe and stuff like that, I think this is probably where it's come from.
Yep.
I don't think there's anywhere official. Not that this isn't official. There's no brick and mortar store that I've seen or heard of that claims to be selling anything other than the Greyjoy starter.
So there we go. We will pack and ship out orders within 3 days. All obviously weights are done by volumetric rates, and they ship to literally everywhere using DHL Express. Like, this
Get
is
on
no
it.
word of a lie. You can get stuff within probably a week.
There
Like,
you go. You want some positivity?
Yeah.
Go buy yourself some bottles.
And I
Makes
know
me feel
people have bought from this before, and someone that we know, I mean, Edward, he's a guy from the Spanish community, I think. He's got them from here. Someone else that we know just posted on the main Facebook group today that he's getting his or got his delivered today. So he's absolutely over the moon. I can't say I've used the site. I'm not even going to endorse using the site. I can't promise it. Do your own research and all that kind of stuff. But it is there, and they're not the only ones, right? And it gets the story gets deeper. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for an interesting story, would you guys? Anyone heard of War Factory?
No.
Cool, because you're about to. War Factory have got Polish versions of all the stuff. Now,
Cool.
I don't know
Did they do their own?
I don't know if they've done their own. I think they've done their own. But I don't know if this is the case, right? I have no concept about what actually is the case here. Alright? Because I don't read Polish. But you can go and pre-order a Night's Watch Polish version starter 2021 variant right now, and they reckon it's going to come out in a couple of weeks.
You know what? I've got less doubt. I've got less doubt about that than I do of the list of things that Simon will officially release. That's the kind of left field crazy crap that keeps happening. The the stupid idiotic stuff that keeps like taking us by surprise.
Yeah.
That is actually probably just gonna like that it's gonna be released in Polish before it's released anywhere else.
Yeah.
I'd believe it. I'd
So,
believe it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm brutally honest, I don't read Polish. I'm not even going to pretend that I read Polish. With version 2021. Something you literally pre-order right now. And they said they're going to deliver it to you with Polish cards and everything. Brilliant. Honestly, this is amazing. Like, honestly, these people, it's amazing. But what on earth is the communication? You can see the date there. The date that they are planning to release this product is on the 14th of the 5th. That's in 4 days' time. And they're going to release a Polish version of the Night's Watch starter in 2021.
Contact somebody.
Oh, please. If we know any Polish players, actually we do know some Polish players.
We know some Polish players.
I'm sure we could ask the Polish players to. I mean, I don't know what 419 zlotys is in pounds at the moment. That's actually not that
Probably
expensive.
400 quid based on Brexit.
Yeah, and COVID. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, there you go. I'm not telling you to buy from these places. My point is they exist, right? They exist on these places, and then you head over to Asmodee USA, right? And I hate the Asmodee website. That's an aside. I just absolutely hate it. But if we check the recently released tab, we can see all the Greyjoy stuff's on there. We see Mammoths are on there. We see Stormcrows, Targs, Mother Dragons, Breathing Stagnites. So from Asmodee US, you can buy all of this stuff. But local game stores in the US still haven't received these and haven't been able to fulfill their pre-orders. That's not good. You can't pre-order the Greyjoy stuff. It's out of stock. What? Not been released yet.
Already sold their pre-order allocation?
I guess, but they're the main distributors. Yeah?
Yep.
We then see the upcoming releases for this week. Let's get rid of the releases there. Mormont She-Bears, Wrathing King's Men, according to Asmodee website, this is what's coming this week. Let's check out next week. Next week, Hedge Knights, Freedmen, Queensmen, Lightbringers. This fits in with what Asmodee France was saying. Right? We see in 3 weeks' time. Ever loads. In 3 weeks, we see Red Cloaks. We see the Outriders, which is a bit academic, and Harakars. I don't know what to say. What we're saying at this point is
the evidence is piling up, but I still I still can't let myself believe. I can't let myself believe. That's the problem. Like, if I start thinking that they're actually going to turn up and that I'm going to play with Red Cloaks sometime in the future, like, that's just that way madness lies.
And I'll tell you one thing that does it for me. You know what really does it for me, and it goes back to what we were saying before. That was the last post. They have got so much stuff that's supposed to be releasing. And the last thing they said was on the 28th of April, recommending the London GT. Can't complain. Come to the London GT. More on that later. But fantastic, right? Fantastic that they've talked about the London GT. But why is it the last thing they actually said about a product that they're selling and want to make money from, was on the 26th of March? That's now pushing 2 weeks ago. Or 2 months ago, sorry. They've got so much stuff that's supposed to be coming out around the corner. Like, if they talked about it and said all of this stuff, guys, is coming, the community will be positive. And that's kind of what I'm trying to tell you guys. If this is true, and I know Carlo's got his own, opinions about whether or not it's true or not, but they've kind of delivered on the Greyjoys, certainly in Europe. If this is even remotely true, we have got more stuff coming out in the next basically month than we had for pretty much the entirety of 2020, right? Like, if you thought it was time to be excited about the game and all these new releases and all of these cool, amazing stuff, now is the time. But we can't. We can't because no one's talking about it, and no one's talking about it because they don't believe, and they don't believe because the company Simon don't talk about it.
Is it better or worse? Genuine question. Is it better or worse that they don't talk about it and then they turn up, or that they tell us a date and don't meet it? I'm actually not sure anymore. They've done both. They've done both many, many, many times.
Yes. I firmly believe that communication kills companies. It creates or kills companies. If you've got bad communication, I will tell you for a fact your company will disappear. That's how it works. Good communication will always be a hallmark of a good company. They should be communicating. They should always have the communication and be honest. Honesty is the best policy when it comes to business, because when you find out you're not being honest, actually what ends up happening is shareholders get wind of it. Shareholders start to back out, lose confidence, and you end up with all kinds of problems. Boards start to fight each other, and you end up with people leaving the company, directors having problems. You're always best to have a very honest, open policy, including with issues. However, they are in a contract with Asmodee. There will be things in their contract with Asmodee that they probably cannot talk about. And with Dark
AKA
Souls.
GR on mine.
Yeah. I don't think that this is entirely Simon's fault, but it is entirely Simon's fault that they don't say what they can. So yeah, it's a very very difficult position to be in. So yes, we will see. We will see. And yeah, I guess that's where that all is. So you can see there, I've collated what 1, 2, 3, 4 different shops, all these different kind of things. Oh yeah, and by the way, if in doubt, just knock onto Miniature Market and buy stuff there if you want as well. They've got estimated release dates as well. There are loads of different places.
Retailer.
Support your local retailer.
It's funny, actually. It makes me think. All the problems. About the only person who, shall we call it, spouts positivity.
Yep.
Who crap positivity all over the place, or tries to downplay the negativity. The only person who downplays the negativity, who I sometimes listen to, is Jesse Lynn.
Yeah.
Because Jesse, actually, he engages with the negativity and says something about it, rather than just saying stop being negative.
Yeah, he does.
Right.
I've got a lot of time for Jesse.
One of the things he posted not so long ago was, hey, watch this Team Covenant thing where they went to Gamma and they talk about the whole distribution cycle of stuff like that. So that's a little bit to do with why there's no bloody stock at all, which is because Simon aren't able or willing to bet on A Song of Ice and Fire being successful, because if and the fact that they're never sure how successful it's being, you know what I mean? They're best off with it constantly selling out. Brilliant, right? Cool. It's really, really a problem if Asmodee are acting as the distributor, but also the ultimate seller, and they're undercutting all the local gaming stores. And the most important thing is this game will never ever grow and will never ever be able to have a community and be actually successful without your local gaming store having a reason to promote it. And Simon make it so hard, because Mickey's just trying to help you guys. He's trying to show you all these online places where you could buy it. But ultimately, if your local stores aren't able to support it for whatever reason, because, for example, the only place where you can ever believe that you're going to get it from is by searching around the internet and ordering it from Russia, then that is never going to be able to create a healthy gaming community. No store is willing to help promote a community of a game that it can't sell. If it can't get stock in and sell it, then there's no point in that gaming store trying to run events, trying to build a community, trying to help the game grow. And that is your direct access to these people. And Simon just seemed to, because they're such a Kickstarter entrenched company, they have no respect for what is needed by the LGSs to make their game successful.
Yep. In also just a shout out to the guys over there as well in Object Fairness as well. I wanted to give a shout out to Gaming Figures, which is based not too far away from myself, and yeah, they do have a lot of the stuff there as well available. Gavin Winspear is fantastic from Gaming Figures and resolves anything you've got with them. Obviously, George from Three Sales ended up talking with Gavin after I told him to go and get the stuff from there, and Gavin even supports the Three Sales channel now, and helps George with a lot of things. So yeah, I know he does stuff and he's fairly straightforward. I ordered mine, and they came pretty much straight away without warning. I just they randomly appeared, and they're not even part of the same load. I bought them as part of another load, and he said, "Oh, just send it as one. I'll wait for the other stuff to come in." Do check out Gaming Figures if you're in the UK. They are pretty great. But yeah, definitely on that. Support your local game stores where you have them, but ultimately, it's really difficult for the local game stores right now, especially coming out of COVID, where they have suffered. This stock they can't get hold of it. There was talk of allocation problems, and I won't go into that too much because unfortunately I couldn't really find any hard evidence of anything that was being said. But there were talks of allocation numbers being really low for some stores in the US, talking about shops getting 3 starters and then having to pull like half of their pre-orders or more because they didn't have the allocation.
UK seem to do fine.
UK are fine.
UK, you can. I'm pretty sure you can still just go to your local shop and buy a Greyjoy starter.
Yeah.
Like
everybody
got what they asked for once. So
yeah, it's incredible. So anyway, yeah. Obviously on that note as well, we did mention it. The London Grand Tournament. It's still happening. We've obviously had that Simon support now, and things are looking pretty good for it. We don't know any updates from the ticket numbers. I'm sure Leet Teddy will update us if there is anything going on regarding the number of tickets we sold. Wouldn't expect it to be many more, just because it's a long way off, and a lot of people probably would have pre-ordered back in April or May, wasn't it? May. So yeah, obviously check out that. We'll be continually building hype for that when it comes along. And as are the guys over there as well, Leet Teddy and or Chris and Scott, and of course Carlo and Daryl, doing all their best to try and get that working absolutely fantastic. I was reminded to book my accommodation, and I haven't. Have you done yours yet, Carlo?
I had a look the other day. I'll talk to you about it.
Right, cool. My grandparents live about a 30-minute drive away, 40-minute drive away. So if in doubt, we can just come there. Anyway, no, we're not going to do that. 100%. Please don't submit us to that. Anyway, so yeah, with the UK is an island nation, you need the Greyjoys. We do Scorched Earth. We do. Also, fantastic name, Scorched Earth.
Weasel. I hate that font too. Yeah. That's the London Grand Tournament.
Yeah, this is their website, not us.
Their player packs are bad. They just like have this border with like these massive like angle spikes coming in, and it's just black and white. And God, I think it'll give Scott an absolute fit when when he tries to put something together. And they just go, no, it has to be black and white, and it has to have these angled lines at the top of it. He'd be like, nope, I quit.
Yeah, I just realised it was Sam and Fraser and all that live down there. Well, Frey doesn't live anywhere near. but no. Anyway, so that's the London Grand Tournament. Obviously, go check that out. Also, kind of like linking to the news. Obviously, we'll move on to tournament stuff, and there isn't really much to talk about tournament-wise, as I'm sure you're all aware. But there is something to talk about tournament-wise, and it links to the news. It links to everything we've been saying, and is an indicator. And actually, hilariously, it's pretty damning of what one or two people might be saying. But there was something else I wanted to move on to before We talked about tournaments in greater detail, and that is in the UK, I believe, if I am not mistaken. It is Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK, and I know, right? What on earth are we talking about mental health awareness for? Um, but I wanted to bring
More,
it.
more I'm about to get exposed about the fact that I have continuous mental breakdowns, but okay.
Well, no, but no, it's not about exposing people, but it is about making sure that people are aware. I've spoken with a couple people in the community, and I know I've suffered it from myself as well in past experiences in life. Everyone does usually suffer from mental health. Well, 1 in 3 people will suffer from a mental health issue every year. That's just in the UK. That's probably different across the world. And it's just just a quick reminder to talk about it. I know a couple of people in the community have been suffering a little bit recently, getting the work-life hobby balances right and things like that. So talk about it. I'm not going to pretend like I can listen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I do sleep and I do have work. Um, but I'm not the only one to talk about it with other people in the community. If you are feeling down about stuff, people will talk to you about it, and hopefully, like, even just to be someone to listen, to your problems, because it is really important that you keep keep a track of your mental awareness, mental health awareness. Um, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I make light of it, but like if you go back and watch, like it, it's very clear at times that I've been on some of my videos. I've been incredibly stressed about things that are going on in the Song of Ice and Fire. You know, between the website and tournaments and trying to make them successful and feeling like things aren't in my control. It's been very, like I don't really hide my feelings. It's been very obvious that times that I've been really angry. Like actually angry. Sometimes I rant, sometimes I vent. You can normally tell when it's real and when it's not. And at times, particularly when I was really in the deeper things around like October time, maybe or something like that, you could tell that like the videos they felt different, and that's because there was real anger and frustration there. And I had to take a big step back from A Song of Ice and Fire in general because I was realizing that like song was having like was taking up too much of my mental space. Like, let's just put it that way. It was weighing heavy on me, and that really shouldn't be what your hobby's about. But COVID, just what I mean, COVID and all different things that are going on, just make it seem like it's more important than it is. Not to belittle the value of the game and our hobbies or anything, but what I mean, like when you're also trying to make content and videos on a website and you got all these desires and plans and it can get too much for you. So
yeah,
that's why I'm a lot more casual about it these days. It was the rising crest of like how much I hoped and cared for A Song of Ice and Fire, and I gave too much. And now I never can. I never can give A Song of Ice and Fire as much anymore because
yeah,
I know that it just leads me to get frustrated.
definitely. So if you are listening and there's anything want to talk about, I'm sure get in contact with myself, get in contact with Carlo, get in contact with anybody in the community. I'm sure there are many great people out there who listen. Big shout out to Charles actually as well, because there was one evening where I was feeling particularly bad, and Charles just sat down and we just chatted about things, and it helped me kind of like work over what I need to work out as well, because I've been in the same spot as well. So yeah, I just wanted to do that because it is Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK, and it makes sense to just like broadcast that message out because it is. Moving on to tournaments though. Obviously, the only real tournament we've got running at the moment is this one. Is 2021 here yet? Obviously, the answer to that question is still no.
Oh,
Um, I know, right? It's not like we've been talking about that. Um,
wait,
but
isn't it what, May
yeah, it's May. um, so
21? Yep,
uh,
cool. Checking.
yeah, just checking. On that note, I know quite a lot of people have been struggling to organise games online, and that's reasonable, right? The idea was it was supposed to be like a weekend type of thing, your weekend game, knowing that some people can't go out. More and more people are getting weekend games now, and people are, just busier. Um, but actually, on a note there, I spoke with two players that have retired from the tournament. I retired myself last week to make the numbers even. And I wanted to talk about my first game as well, and give a massive shout out to my player. in in the first round. So hang on there because I will talk about you. Um, People are dropping out, and these are people who are very experienced with the game, who are people you'd expect to be really keen still. Um, Grusalug, Craig, lovely guy. It was him 6 months ago who was saying, "God, I can't wait till Dragons got out," and then Dragons were finally released, and he was like, honestly, he was like the happiest person in the community. I'm pretty sure. He absolutely was over the moon when they got released, and he messaged me over the weekend saying, "Look, I just don't have the motivation is not there. I do not want to play a Song of Ice and Fire right now." Basically, were his words. He thought he could, and he just couldn't bring himself to do it. And he's resigned. And as you can see there, Johnson Groupie, aka Brett, with words not too dissimilar to that. He can't bring himself to play the game right now, and he's got other things going on, which is why I wanted to talk about mental health as well. But he can't bring himself to play the game, and that's not good. That's not what I want as a person and as a community member and as a friend to these people. It's not what Carlo wants. It's not what anyone wants. Is to see people backing out of the game because they cannot bring themselves to play it. And that, the whole point of this tournament was
We're down to a Valiant 10, Mickey.
Yeah.
Valiant 10
well,
players.
12 technically. 12.
Okay, here's the bet. How many players will still be playing in Is It 2021 yet when the 2021 balance comes out?
I hope none of them. I hope all of them play 2021. That's the point.
No. Yeah, the week that it comes out and you end the tournament, how many of them are still in the tournament?
Oh, right. Okay. That's a good question. Because at this rate, I'm expecting to see a couple more. I don't want to name any other players out there and things, but spoken to a couple of other people, and things are not going so great, be it with work returning and stressful weeks and things like that. But people like Song of Ice and Fire Noob, I know Zero Talk, I know Scabman, they had massively busy weeks for whatever reason and things going on. Like, people are back to being very busy, and as a result, the tournament is probably not going to be what it wants to be in terms of everyone playing these games.
Charles says 6. I was going to go 4.
Yeah.
And that might even include Mickey coming back in to re-even the numbers at some point.
Well, I am going to return back in. Because we are down to an uneven 11 if I stay out. So I'm going to be back in for this week, which is great. I love playing the game still. And that brings me back onto round 1, which I didn't get to talk about last week. And it's not really to talk about my experiences, although I did get to play the man himself, Fat Belwas, in a Targaryen-led army, and he's not a great commander, but he's not bad actually. I really enjoy playing Belwas. You know what?
Well, he's a top-rated commander outside of MOD.
Yeah.
In Targs.
Yeah. He's really good. I mean, if you assume you're going to be taking on Sullied and some other stuff, he's great. The problem is he absolutely sucks to those top builds. We know. Surprisingly good against Baratheon because those counterplays that Stags have, they just Stannis has nothing there. And I played against his name on here is Flixia. Flixie Flyer at the top there, and you'll all know him, or hopefully you'll know him as Joran from the Rotterdam White Scars. Absolutely lovely, proper time. I'd actually spoken to him properly, and he said that he'd mentioned it to Tice and the others, and said he was really happy to actually get a game against one of us. By the way, Carlo, I didn't tell you this. He's really keen to get a game against you. Yeah,
everybody wants to crack at the champ, don't they? Eh?
Everyone does. But no, absolutely lovely bloke. The Rotterdam White Scars are lovely guys. They talked about the problems they're having in their group regarding 2021 and things. But Joran, absolutely lovely, brilliant game, really well played, and it was fun. We enjoyed the best part of 3 to 4 hours chatting with each other and playing a game, and that's what I miss from my Friday nights when me and Carlo used to go down the club. And that's what the whole point of this event was, is just to bring that back to people who can't do it at the moment because we're still not allowed outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, coming like full circle back to Facebook's full of these negative posts, right?
Yeah.
For me, there's no point in engaging with the negative posts if you're still positive about the game. If you're genuinely still positive about the game, just play the game and make positive posts. Paint something, post it. Play a game, post about it. Maybe you make content. If you do, then just make some content. because that just creation of content, even if it has some negative discussion involved, is a
Yeah.
positive thing about the game. Like, don't tell other people to not be negative. Just continue to be positive yourself. And that will help to build your own local community. And that matters so much more than the wider community. And yes, like what's going on in the Facebook group does matter, but I care the negativity that I've mostly discussed, like actually, I don't care that much about what's going on in the Facebook group, what's going on, whatever. I care about whether or not my friends are going to play with me on a Friday night. And lots of the negativity is me mirroring and kind of articulating all the things that they say to me why they won't play the game with me anymore. When COVID is finished, they still say, no, we're not interested for XYZ reasons. And that's what I rehash to you guys and what makes me frustrated. And so, all I'm saying is like, if you're actually positive about the game, then play in this event, continue to play games, continue to submit, play on TTS if you can't get out, do things. And like if there's enough people who are still positive about the game, then it will outweigh the negative comments.
Yeah, definitely. And there have been talks about people running demo games and things, which is interesting. Great to see that getting off the floor a little bit more. I actually had a really interesting conversation with Carl and Mongoose the other day uh, regarding like demo games and how demo games should be run. From a teaching perspective versus like the demo games that the people actually run. Um, and it's a very good question of actually how do you gauge what a demo game should be, because actually there are right and wrong ways to do it. There are definitely right ways, which is you want to make sure that everyone's having fun, obviously. But there's definitely wrong ways where I think people, um, assume that people know nothing, and there's this whole debate or discussion you can have about the Games Workshop approach, which in the UK is really polarizing. People go into Games Workshop shops, and this very kind of like, oh, let's play a game. I can show you all the rules, this and the other, actually puts people off completely playing the hobby and getting into the hobby. But for other people, it becomes like, oh yeah, wow, cool, and they're like drawn in, and it's like down the rabbit hole. And it's really
It's like
polarizing, really polarizing.
what GW do is like it's like a kids club, right? You turn up and the guy's like, "Hey, do you want me to show you how to play?" And the kid's like, "Yes." But like somebody who's like, oh, they're not quite sure whether or not they're a nerd enough. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, they've seen the Game of Thrones show and they hear that and they've played some board games and then thinking about a miniature game too, and they walk in and this guy's like, hey, do you want me to show you how to play? And they're like, whoa, I'm not ready for this. And just like they're like,
Literally
no
leg it out
thanks,
the shop.
bye.
Yeah.
Like it is full on, and that is like it's enforced from Games Workshop right from the top that when a person walks into your store, the Games Workshop employee has to be like, "Hello, would you like me to show you how to play?" It's so weird. It's so creepy.
It is. It is. It's
It's
actually
so much
strange.
better to go to a non-Games Workshop shop as well. Like if you walk it, so I don't really play Games Workshop stuff anymore. I don't really go to Games Workshop, but like now and again, if I'm in a certain city, like I still like to go in, particularly because they still have really impressive displays and stuff like that. I obviously am a massive hobbyer. Do you know what I mean? I just don't play at a Games Workshop anymore. I play at a games club. I walk in, they don't recognize me. They're like, all right, I have to give them the pitch. And they're like, hey, would you? I'm like, dude, don't. I'm just like, dude, don't waste your time. Like, do you know what I mean? One, I'm not going to buy anything. Two, I'm here to see your displays. Three, I own all of these games already. Like, like, dude, does that? Just relax, yeah, please relax. Whereas when you go into like a board game shop in the UK, like the guy would be like, hey, if you need a hand, just let me know, and you're just like,
Normal
cool.
sales, yeah.
That's what I wanted.
It's
That's what I
why
wanted.
it's why miniature gaming in the UK is really weird and polarized between like Games Workshop. Then you have historical, which are typically older people who've left Games Workshop at some point, moved on to historical, and then everybody else is a board gamer. Like there are no in between games. It's really weird. The community's super strange. Um, yeah.
It might be. I don't know if you. I don't know who Rotterdam White Scars is. Is
It's
Flixie
Joran.
or is
Yeah,
that
it's Joran.
Joran?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
He does
Joran.
work in a Games Workshop.
Yeah, I don't know if you work in an actual Games Workshop or just a gaming store, but maybe it's a UK thing. I don't know, but like honestly, every store in the UK, and I will nearly always go into a Games Workshop if I'm in another city and I've got a bit of time because I want to see their displays. Like they're always good, particularly if they've got a big store. I'll go out of my way to go and walk into that Games Workshop. Every time I'm just like hit by this guy, like, hello. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean it's really interesting. Anyway, on that kind of point is like the split there in demo games and like how to get people into the hobby, because I think it's a big thing. I think it's actually a very big talking point how to get
Mm,
people into the hobby, um, because this is not something that we're necessarily amazing at. I'm not amazing at. Carlo's not amazing at. We've all got very different backgrounds, all very different experiences, and positivity is obviously a big part of that. But getting people into the hobby who've never played before, who literally aren't, I'd argue, are not even remotely interested in gaming themselves, knowing how to tap that and getting that style of person into the game, talking about it, that's actually where Game of Thrones will benefit the most. Because there's a lot of people who like the Game of Thrones show,
yeah,
lots of people who like the Game of Thrones books. You know, I'm part of all the lore posting and things like that, and some of the stuff that people talk about is hilarious. And I'm like, mate, you should definitely play this game. You'd absolutely love it. Even if you're
yeah,
not a miniatures game, because you love the lore that much and you can create
yeah.
these stories. Um, but people don't. So it'd be interesting to see how to get those people in. But yeah,
Song, if done right, should be really, really well positioned as an entry game. Its price point isn't too high, so that that helps. But even in terms of just like the demo game, it's fast. It's relatively intuitive. It doesn't have that many rules. Like you don't have to like go into so many depths of like, oh, this special rule is this and this and this and this, particularly if you build the armies right. There is the complexity of the NCU board, and that's really like the tactics cards, the NCU board, and the units on the table is the thing that you have to navigate. Like, how heavy are you going to go into it? How much are you going to just? I think most people think that maybe something around 25 to 30 points playing one NCU each with the tactics cards is probably like a high-ish entry level. Like if this person already plays some games, maybe they play card games. Card games is a really easy segue for people because they think about the tactics deck so much more intuitively. But it should have so much crossover with board games. It's so much no building. Models become pre-assembled. They just fit on the trays. Like the speed with which you could get people into the game, it should be perfect for. But yeah, as Mickey says, that's not me and him. Do you know what I mean? Like
no.
I don't. Uh, I play board games with people. I introduce people to board games, but I don't try and introduce people to miniature games. It's just like when I play miniature games, I play to win.
Um, all right then. I guess I guess yeah. So I mean, I guess what I was going to sum up with was uh, Joran, obviously fantastic to play against you. It was absolutely lovely to play against you. Great person, to be honest, great person, great player as well. And I beat him, but he scored more points because I was playing high ranked Targaryen commander and he was playing Stannis Rightful Heir. So there you go, ELO for you. Um, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more games. On that note, though, with the tournament, we do need a new round, and I'm going to open up lists as well for people to edit because some of the games have only finished today. So I'll be opening the lists from now on for the game mode, so you can feel free to edit your lists over the next day. And at about 9 p.m. tomorrow, I'll close the lists. I'll even draw the players now live on air as well. That's not a problem. Um, but yeah, keep playing, doing what you enjoy, keep hobbying, right, for the game because the game is still gonna be here, right? The game is still coming back. Um, just keep going with it, and you will get something out of it. I actually wanted to give Offal on the main Discord, Jonathan, a shout out today as well because he's been working on some stuff like scenic bases. Obviously, Grant has done some great stuff on YouTube with his scenic bases. Um, But Othel's going full whole hog, and we had a really interesting conversation yesterday about how he was going to make Eric Ironmaker on the chair fit into his thing, and we talked about how, have him like still on the ship, and how that could be like his own unique base and things like that. Like, I'm not a one massively for hobbying. Right? I'm not a massive hobbyer really. I like the games. I'm a board gamer really by nature. I'm a computer gamer. That the game is what I play the game for. The hobbying is just a nice thing to do to relax. Um, and hopefully, Oren, you won't get revenge. So yeah. Um, yes. So yeah. Anyway, I'll re-enter myself, and I need to quickly add in. So here's for those of you who aren't sure, I've got one game unplayed. Both players decided to they couldn't arrange a game for whatever reason, so I'd enter it as a 0-0 draw. That no player resigned. Can I do that? A 0-0-0-0.
Yeah. If you 0-0 everything, then it'll go to a draw.
I'm going to say Zero Talk played Grey Worm, and Grey Worm. Why not have a Grey Worm mirror? Because it doesn't affect anything,
Yeah.
not like it matters.
Perfect.
The points on the table equal, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, cool. So, Carlo, I'll make sure that everyone's
What have you had?
in.
You've had Clash of Kings.
Clash
and
of
you've
Kings,
had...
and we just had this round, which I didn't play, so forgive me that I don't know it as well. We had Feast of Crows.
Play Dark Wings, Dark Words.
Play Dark Wings, Dark Words.
I actually think it's quite good.
Cool.
Play that same song again. Yeah, I think Dark Wings, Dark Words is interesting. Yeah. I think I prefer Winds of Winter now, but I want to see Dark Winds, Dark Words played, particularly if no Groose we're not playing Storm Yeah, well that's like the that's like the anything you want, not you.
I actually think I imagine, I'm not gonna lie, I know Storms of Swords isn't a good competitive game mode. I can imagine if you knew you were playing Storms of Swords and you assigned defender and offensive players beforehand. You know what?
It could be interesting.
Next week, if we know what if 2021 is still not out, which we're banking on that happening, we're gonna play Storms of Swords for Groose. Yeah. We're going to play Storm of Swords, and we're going to assign attacker and defender before you build your lists.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what you're going to be going to.
A player 1 and a player 2 in each pairing. So yeah, just assign it that way. And yeah. Whoa. We've just blown the tournament scene wide open, Mickey.
Yep. 100%. The other thing as well, I was going to talk to Carlo live on air about rearranging the games. I have the opportunity now to select matchups, and obviously manually pair matchups if I wanted to. This is really useful if you're doing manual pairing for a tournament scene that you're running yourself, or anything else that you might be doing, be it a manual event where you want to just you've done the event beforehand and you want to put the rounds in. I know that some people prefer to do that. That's absolutely fine. But obviously, we do want you to contribute to the data. Your games are just as important as the games that me and Carlo play on a Friday night. Everyone's games are equally relevant. So
I'd say they're probably more important considering you don't really play them at the moment, Mickey.
Oh, well, exactly, yeah. More important than non-existent games. So I obviously have the opportunity to match people up. And with that being said, I know some people have struggled getting games agreed because of time commitments with the world reopening and lockdown ceasing. So I have the opportunity here to try and match people by region. Yeah. Do you think I should do that, Carlo? Go through and match regions? I'd have to do it manually, but do you think I should do that?
Sure. If it's gonna work, yeah. So you're stretching my own memory here, but I believe that they actually come up in order that they would be paired.
Yes.
So yeah, if you just click the first person in each list, then like they are who would be paired 1 versus 2 if you auto paired it.
Right.
I think outside, or at least that's their current ordering. Yeah, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
I think that's roughly what happens.
Bloodraven.
Basically, are you actually saying who the hell are you going to pair Deoxys with?
That's actually a good point.
Work out who you can pair Deoxys with and work backwards from there.
There we go. Because I know Jesse and Zero Talk are obviously.
Mickey just this was an elaborate ruse. Mickey wanted to have another crack at Deoxys.
Mate, I'm gonna play for Evoke. No, I'm not.
I've been absolutely catfished here. Like he was.
Actually, I'm gonna give Deoxys a breakout. I'm gonna give him Mr. Ray because I've not played against Leica yet, and he's another free folk aficionado. So I don't know if he wants to. I've played against Deoxys enough. We'll get a game in. We can just arrange a game whenever. But I'll go for that, and that's roughly equal. So Flixie. Actually, no. I'll tell you what. I'll trade out Bloodraven.
Trade out.
Let's think. I'm trying to think. This is.
I'm not gonna lie, Mickey. This is.
This is completely made up.
I know it's. Guys, this is okay because it's a completely not a serious tournament.
Yeah.
If this was a serious tournament, I'd be like, do not do this.
No.
Do not some people come to me and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna manually pair these people up for the first round of this tournament. I'm like, don't. That's not how tournaments work. That's not a fair event.
Don't manually pair.
And also, yeah, like sometimes people say, oh, I'm gonna put beginners against each other in the first round, and I'm like, that just means that half of the beginners are going to win and then get thrown against the best players in the tournament round 2, when the best players in the tournament are already like set into like, all right, we're here to win game time. Whereas if like you pair veteran versus a beginner in the first round, the veteran can be like, all right, cool, first round, got a beginner, I can be easy on him. Do you know what I mean? Take a win, move on, start to play seriously as we get to the final rounds. But like, if you stick a beginner against somebody really top, like 3 rounds in, that person's going to be like, well, I mean, we're on the top table of a tournament here. I'm gonna have to crush you because that's a tournament.
So there we go. We've got Flixie, Yoren versus Bloodraven. We've got Deoxys versus Mr. Ray. I hope that's fine. I know Mr. Ray's. I think he's based in the UK. I think. Deoxys obviously not based in the UK, but he's a pain, so we'll just ignore that. Tom versus Song of Ice and Fire Noob. Tom's obviously UK based. Song of Ice and Fire Noob is UK based. Mongoose is UK based. Scabman's UK based. Zero Talk is American. Jesse is American. And then Leica and me, well, we'll arrange it ourselves. Leica, I'm sure we'll manage. So yeah, hopefully that's okay. Hopefully I haven't repeated any pairings. I don't think I have. If I have, just give me a nasty shout, and I will change something up. I'm sure that's
possible. You'll do more manual things that you're not supposed to do.
So that was the one we just saw. Bloodraven, like, it's fine. Flixie Goose, yeah. Jesse, yeah, that looks about right.
Top content, guys, isn't it? Really top quality content.
This is top content. Anyway, there we go. So
how you use the site, by the way, it is actually probably things that are like I should actually like create some kind of user manual on, but yeah, that Mickey just showed you that's exactly how you make a manual round. You just select all the players and then you do it. If you normally are doing an event, then you just hit Swiss pairing and it will just automate all of that for you.
Definitely hit that button. Hit that button. It's way better. It just saves you. And if you've got clubs, get them to put their club affiliation down. Hit that avoid club pairing. You can always avoid it. Perhaps not so wise as you get further on into the tournament because you might have 2 members obviously at the top.
Yeah, that's one thing that you should be doing. Not like, are you a beginner? Are you a veteran? Something like that. In terms of your first round, the first thing that you should do is get people from the same group, particularly if they've traveled quite far to come to your event. You have them put their club as the same name, and then it won't pair them round 1. Do it for round 2 as well if you want, depending on how big your event is. But at some point, like these players might have to meet each other, but you don't want them knocking each other out, but technically knocking each other out from being able to win in round 1, particularly if like 3 or 4 really strong players have come from one club and then they all play each other. Well, why did they come?
Yeah. On that note, just looking at the sportsmanship scores, I mean, everything's within region, 5.5 to 6.5 average scores. I'm not going to go break it down, but this is something that as a tournament org, as you can see, I'm not fussed about sportsmanship scores for this event. It's not that kind of event. But the point is that you can see there that most people have scored people fairly averagely. There's probably, for like Leica there, he's probably been scored like a 5 and a 6, or it could have been a 9 and a 10. Right, so you see a slight averaging difference there, and for Flixie there, he's scored a total of 13, so he's probably scored a 6 and a 7 overall, right?
It's all
Subjective.
just by comparison
Yeah,
to the average scores that people are giving out. So it it
I
will
wouldn't read
always
into
be a
it.
6. It will always be a 6, guys. That's how it works.
I wouldn't read into it whatsoever. But if you're getting to like 5, 6, 7 rounds and you notice yourself towards the bottom, that would be slightly different. After 2 rounds, honestly, it's like the difference of 1 star can knock you down to the bottom, and that's just down to how the person feels on the day. So yeah, that's how that works. Obviously, the tournament organizer would see this and they would know what was going on there. All righty then. So that's finished up there. I will of course open up the unlock lists. Da-da-da-dan. So feel free to upload your new lists that you want to upload. Leica, if you want to go for a Targaryen mirror, I'm happy to do that. If you want to go for a Free Folk mirror, I'm happy to do that. It's whatever you want to do, Charles. So yeah, that's kind of like where we leave off today. Except, of course, I did dig out earlier in the episode. You might have seen me climb underneath my desk because I'd remembered this. My Greyjoy faction pack cards. I found them where they were.
I
So
didn't know you lost them.
no, I was so much lost them. I tried to find them last week. Well, when we last did this,
And
and
drop them, drop them down the back of the table. Probably.
literally couldn't remember where I'd put them, and was like, oh dear. But yeah, I got these guys from obviously Blitz Minis when they were selling them. Blitz Minis, I don't believe sell these anymore, which is a massive
Do they
shame.
not?
No, I couldn't find them on their site.
I've seen some other people, so maybe they bought stock off them and.
Yeah, well, I know that Russian site sells them, so I don't know if they have the stock as well. I don't know who actually produces them. I think it was Blitz who produced them originally.
Yeah.
Blitz and Pieces. So obviously check out Blitz and Pieces if you want to have a look, but I don't think they have them anymore, which is obviously a massive shame.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. So with that being said, we've reached another end of another episode. Lots of things have been talked about. Lots of things have gone on. We've had loads of people communicate in the chat. It's been great to see everybody here. And if you've missed parts of the episode, I do recommend go back and check it out. Certainly for all the things we talked about in terms of positivity and negativity, things like mental health and things like that coming into it as well. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it there, Carlo. Unless there's anything else you want to mention.
No, it's good to be back. Good to have no technical issues.
I know, right?
Been a rough few weeks, hasn't it?
It has. It has.
When you just switch over to your front profile, and I'll tell you one thing that most people might not notice if they don't go on quite regularly. Targaryens are the #1 faction, aka Mother of Dragons. But
yeah,
there you go. MOD.
MOD, man.
But here we are. I think me and Mickey have been talking about. It's so hard without the dates. I'm a dates kind of person. I just am a dates kind of person. I work towards dates. Me and Mickey have been talking about trying to do some kind of roundup of 1.6 before 1.7 comes. What will probably happen is 1.7 will come out, 2021 will come out, and I'll quickly run round taking some screenshots of all the stats at that point, and then start to write the article. That's probably what's going to happen. Just when everybody doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. The plan is, and me and Carlo will obviously talk about how we want to do it, but we're going to do something like either do it through the Facebook group or do it through like an article that we'll write, and obviously Carlo can stick on the website here or elsewhere. But we'll do like a series of smaller things, just being like, right, well, this from all the 1.6 data we collected, this is what we saw, and do little snippets like that, interesting things that we see, and some of the less interesting things, like as we expected, maybe this from 1.6, this thing happened, which we all kind of thought might happen. So there you go. There's something that we all thought happened, and the unexpected, of course, as well. We'll keep you in tune with what's going on here. We'll keep you in tune with what's going on the Facebook group and on the Discord. Go and check out all the other great content being created by great content creators across the world. Be that Hobbit on Hold or I think his mate. I think it's not the same person. Mizitude on the Discord. He's been putting a load of like battle reports out. He's from one of the guys from the Swindon group, and I'll be brutally honest, it's not, he knows it's not the best play in the world, but the guys look like they're having great fun, and actually, it's good to see more people playing on tabletop, especially in the UK. So keep that up, guys. I really enjoy watching those. One of the few battle reports I actually watch, believe it or not. Sunday Slaughter.
2021 balance, right?
Yeah, they are playing with Visions 2021.
Yeah.
Sunday Slaughter obviously has got all of his great content. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Charles doesn't. Chris doesn't need any more of a shout out, but I have got a bone to pick with Charles actually. No
He
podcast for a
doesn't.
couple of weeks, right? There hasn't
Yeah.
been a Sunday Slaughter podcast for a couple of weeks, Charles. So disappointed, mate. Disappointed. Get back on that because they were great beforehand. The best content on all of internet disappeared. I'm sad.
The entire globe.
The entire globe, better than every meme. So yeah, so check out all of their stuff. Obviously, check out the 3 Sales and Grant over there doing the Paint 2 tutorials. Really hyped about Greyjoys. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there, and we'll see you all next week. Take it easy, guys.